up, everybody? Happy Friday, and welcome to a very, very special edition of the Breakthrough Show. I have been scheduling a lot of these special editions lately because I have so many people that I have come in contact with that are coming out with amazing, life changing music who have incredible stories. And I'm like, well, it doesn't fit with some of the other stuff that we're doing, but we need to spotlight this because the world needs more amazing music, amazing people, and fun messages. Do you agree with me? Let me know. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas. So excited to have you here today for this special edition and to welcome a new friend to the show. I actually met her through another friend who you guys know and love here on the Breakthrough Show Network, and that's Miss Rory Kelly. She is incredible. And she said to me, Jessica, there is a person that you need to hear. And I said, well, of course, because you know how I feel about music. And so she said, there's someone you need to meet. And that is when I met Nicola. She is a New York City-based pop rock soul singer, songwriter, and guitarist with Latin influences, and is releasing her latest single, The Distance, on September 22nd. So we are here to celebrate that with her today. And we're going to hear her play music. We're going to hear a lot about her story. She's been featured twice in Billboard Magazine. This will mark her 7th release to date. And we're really excited to see what her journey is going to be like moving forward. So without further ado, let's bring Nicola onto the show. Nicola, I am so excited to do this episode with you today.
I am thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for having me, Jessica. I love your show, and it's just always an honor to be featured and to have my music heard and just to meet great people and
I
fun
love it.
people.
I appreciate that. And I'm excited to have lots of fun on this episode today because, you know, we like to take our viewers on a little bit of a journey from laughing to crying to, so I anticipate a lot of that roller coaster happening here today, which I'm excited about. I love your new song. I've been honored to get to hear the entire song off the screen. You guys don't get to hear it for a while. But I got to listen to it and I just love it. But I definitely want to take people on a journey today. And I would love to have you just start by sharing, have you always been interested in music? Has it always been a thing for you? And tell us kind of what the journey's been like up until this point with music for you.
I feel like I have, yes, always been interested in music. I know that it's a calling that you don't get to choose most often. I feel like it chooses you. And when I was 7, I said to my dad, you know, I want a guitar. I must have seen somebody play somewhere and it was like fixated on getting a guitar. And he was like, all right, well, we'll get you a guitar, but you have to practice. And I was like, yeah, no problem. I'm willing to practice. It just took off from there. I mean, I practiced, I took lessons, I started writing songs. I had like a little scrapbook. It's crazy. You know, performing in like school concerts and school musicals. And then I went to Manhattan School of Music preparatory school, which is like a pre-college, you know, where they train you to get to college. And then, you know, I went to the Fame School, I don't know, everybody knows it as the Fame School. It's really, I don't think of it as the Fame School anymore, but it's the High School of LaGuardia, the arts. And that's where I really was able to hone a lot of things, you know, not just singing, but acting and dancing, piano playing, all kinds of, we had like concerts and shows. And so I kind of was on this journey of like straddling the theatrical world as well as the pop music world. And I had a voice teacher back then. She was like, no, you need to go into opera. And then I had another coach that was like, you need to go into theater. And I just wanted to write songs, you know,
Right.
and I don't know what with them. But anyway, my journey, it's not been a straight road. It's been very winding. You know, I found myself in Nashville for a while, and they kept saying you're not country enough. And I love country music, but I guess they didn't think I sounded country enough.
Yeah.
So, and then I ended up on Broadway for a while, which was really cool. That was something that I hadn't expected.
Mm.
I toured in rock bands and like top 40 bands, and I didn't expect that. I feel like I always wanted this, but I didn't, nothing that ever happened was expected, or like the straight and narrow path, like, oh, I'm going to do this and it's going to happen. It was so like, I'm going to do this. And then this happened, you know?
Right.
And then I kind of took a hiatus from Broadway and said, you know what? I'm just going to get back to writing. I want to do my
Mm.
own thing. I want to be my own boss. And I don't really care if I get a record deal or if I become famous. I just want to create my own music. I started my own record label, started, producing CDs. And
Mm.
the next thing one CD after, now nobody buys CDs anymore. It's all digital, but just the creative bug to just keep on, no matter what realm I was in, just to keep on going.
Mm. I love that. I love that. And I think, so many people, whether they are involved with music or not, can relate to that sort of ebb and flow that happens with life, where we may feel like we're connected to our passion, but what does that look like? And maybe I take a
Right,
break, and, kind of
right.
having that roller coaster experience. And I can absolutely resonate with you too about when I was growing up in music as well. It's so many people had a different idea of what my journey was supposed to look like to them. Well, you should do opera,
Exactly.
you should do this, you
Right.
should do that. And I think one of the reasons why I didn't go further than I did was because I had a really hard time quieting those voices and saying,
Ah,
Jessica, what do you want to do? And so I'm going to take some time off turned into years and babies and marriages and all of these things that, um,
that's okay too. Yeah, that
yeah.
can work. Yeah.
Like, so do you t- how was that experience for you in really honing into what does Nicola want from this?
You mean having had a child, or just in general?
Like, just
Like,
as far as music goes, like which direction you want to go? Like, has it always been, challenging for you to tap into, like, where way do I really want to go, or has that outside chatter or influences played more of a role at all?
I mean, I always kind of felt like, even if it was different realms or different genres or different art forms, that I kind of knew that I wanted to do this now and I wanted to do this later, or I wanted to do them
Mm,
both at the same time. But there were outside influences that definitely, like managers and agents, that along the way would be like, well, you need to dress like this if you want blah, blah, blah. Or you
mm,
need to, if you sing these type of songs, you'll probably be more successful. Or if you wear your hair this way, or if you play your guitar this way. I mean, that kind of
mm,
chatter definitely influenced me for a while.
yeah.
Um, and that was harder to quiet than the actual, like, I kind of always knew what I wanted, but along the way, I think it's harder. It's, for me at least, was harder to quiet down the people that were like screaming, at me from all different sides, saying, if you do this, then you're going to launch, you're going to be famous, or I can
Yeah.
make you a star. And it's like, uh, really? I
Mm.
mean, I love Patti Smith, but I'm about as far from
Yeah.
Patti Smith as possible that you can get. And I had a manager who told me that I should dress like her, and I should, like, have the motorcycle boots, and I should be like this downtown grungy East Village chick, and that would like serve my purpose in my music. And like,
Mm.
I shouldn't dance on stage, and I shouldn't, because I used to try to incorporate all these different elements of me, which was like dancing and theatrical stuff. And I mean, hell, Freddie Mercury did it. I mean, like,
Right.
so many. I feel like so many men in like rock bands get to use like tights and
Mm.
and theatrical stuff, and ribbons around their microphone or whatever. Like, I like wore a dress and started doing some dancing up onto the stage, and they were like, no, 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 you just need to like hold your guitar, sing, and be like a downtown East
Mm.
Village chick. And so
Wow.
it was that kind of, and it was fine because I learned a lot. I
Mm.
learned, like, okay, maybe I don't have to, maybe that person isn't the right person for me in my life, and maybe I just need to to listen, like you said, to listen to what I think I want and I know that I
Right.
can do, and that can change over time, right? It definitely can
Yeah.
change.
Yeah, I think so for sure. Even as we talked about with having children or with, just
Oh God.
there's so like there's so many things that can impact it, right? Like
Oh my God. I mean, like as a woman in the music or in the arts and entertainment business, when you have a kid, you're basically like, they think that you've died.
yeah.
You have to prove to them that when you resurface that you have always been alive and that you are yeah, I'm serious. she's like I'm oh, okay. I mean this feeling of like, no, I'm not dead. I
Yeah.
haven't, like, people are like, where did you go? I had a kid and now I'm back. I took a break, like
Yeah.
I didn't even take much of a break. It was only like a few months. But people were like, they really thought that I was gone, like out of
Yeah.
sight, out of mind. And when you come back, you have to like really prove yourself. Like I'm still viable and I'm still like a commodity I'm not a commodity, that's a bad word, but an entity,
Yeah.
and just because I now have this label as mother doesn't
Mm,
mean that I can't be like a rocker, or you can't hire me to play your club, or sing on backgrounds for you. I feel like it's
right.
it's so much harder for women to like prove themselves time and time again. If you're not
Yeah.
famous, if you're famous, they see the baby, they do the baby bump thing like on TV,
Right.
and it's
Hmm.
it's like, oh, look at that, she's got a baby. But I felt like the whole time I was pregnant, I was so proud to be pregnant, and yet I was hiding it behind my guitar with big clothes because I didn't want people to be like, oh my God, is she going to fall? Oh my God, is she going to be okay? And
Mm,
so I was just trying to be Nicola the artist and not have people say like, oh my God, she's totally pregnant. Like I can't,
right.
it's distracting for me. And we shouldn't have to be like that at all,
Right. Right. I think that's what's frustrating for me.
Yeah.
I tend to be like into more of the older music. There's not a whole lot that's there today, like super present music that I'm really into, if I'm being honest, like mainstream music. And I think a lot of the reason why is that there's so many artists now that I feel like they have to have a thing. They have to have like it's not necessarily all about the talent anymore. If like I like it
It's,
just it's like there's so much
yeah,
like gimmicky and I don't know.
it's, I mean, maybe, yeah, I agree with you. Maybe there's always been that, but now with
Yeah.
technology, like you have to be more than just an artist. You've
Right.
always had to be a business person, but now
Mhm.
you have to be even more of a business person, and you have to be a director, and you have to be a filmmaker, and you have to be an editor, and you have to be a visual artist and a photographer. And like in the DIY do it yourself world of indie musicians that aren't signed, which is definitely most of us, um, we have to be everything. We have to wear all hats. I know that's a little bit different than,
Right.
you're talking about the gimmick part of it, but seriously, like sometimes there's so little time left. All we want to do is create, and we can't just do that anymore because people
Mhm.
want content, and it's we need to have it, but I feel like if I don't have 10 of me like cloned out, I just don't have enough time in the day to do it all. It's
Right.
crazy, right?
Right. It's
You
tough,
know?
I think, when you're doing it yourself as opposed to some of the people that have an entire huge team that does
Absolutely.
literally
Yeah.
everything for them.
Yeah.
It's a different situation. What are you what now going into we're going to talk about your new song that's coming up here shortly called The Distance, and I'm super excited to let everybody in on a little bit of behind the scenes with the creation of that song and the video and all of that. What are you doing now in addition to that song? Like, are you playing gigs? Are you covering other songs still? Are you just doing your own stuff? What does a performance from Nicola look like right now?
It I it will depend on, I guess, the venue that I'm performing
Mm,
at. I'm part of the Music Under New York program where they hire professional buskers to go out, and they give you a banner and a platform in places to play and set up your equipment and sell your merchandise. It's a really awesome professional busking program. So if I'm there and nobody knows who I am, chances are I'm doing a mix of cover songs and original songs at a 2 hour or a 3 hour spot. If I'm going to like a sort of a songwriter gig, that's all going to be original stuff. Very rarely would I have put a cover song in. I'm not opposed to it because I think people can relate and identify when you have a cover. They're like, oh, I know that Stevie Nicks song.
Right.
Or, oh, I know that, you know, Beyonce. That's twice I mentioned Beyonce and I don't even sing her music. But, you know, it's like I'm not promoting her. I mean, she's awesome. But, you know, it's just
shout out to Beyonce if you're listening.
Shout out to Beyonce, you know, like hashtag. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
Don't think I'm not tagging her after this.
Oh my God. At Beyonce, we love you. No, seriously. But I mean, I guess I don't know. I lost my train of thought, but seriously, it was all go off on a tangent. But seriously, it varies. The venue and the location and will dictate, you know, kind of. And sometimes it's just a question of reading the room. Some rooms are like they are just very receptive to anything you do. So that's the greatest place to play because the people are actually listening. A lot of times people are just there incidental, you know, they're just drinking and eating, and you're there as an incidental, like window dressing or furniture piece on the stage, and you have to grab their attention. And how do you do that? You know, sometimes if you sing a song that they know, they can relate. Oh, that song takes them back to whatever. But if you sing automatically just launch into a song that they don't know, which is yours, how can they really tap into that, you know?
Right.
But
yeah,
so
that makes a lot of sense too.
Totally. And I mean I am doing gigs. You know, I'm performing at City Winery, which is in Grand Central, and all over the city. I'm trying to arrange some tours at the moment. I have a women's songwriters collective with Rory Kelly. You mentioned her. She was on your show. And we founded this collective of like 4 women that would be featured on the same bill that are like powerhouse songwriters. And it's really awesome to be with other women who are like talented and have something to say. And so those are some of the things that I'm trying to sort of like spearhead and be a part of. I feel like since the pandemic, collectivity is where it's at, as opposed to like, you know, and it helps to book shows because venues are like, oh, all 4 of you are going to have your own audience and you're going to bring it too.
Right.
So it's like a win-win, you know?
Right. Yeah. I love that. And we need to talk after the show about when and where all of that is going to be, because I may have to come to
oh,
New
you
York.
should. Yeah.
I may have to come do that. So I think that we should hear some music from you now, if we can do that, and get set up for that. I know that you are going to play us a song called Guide You Home while you're getting set up. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So here I'm getting to prove that I'm getting set up. You can see the guitar, like it's not a track. It's like really live.
Live, you guys.
Yeah. What is the concept of that? Guide You Home is a tune off the last CD that I put out, full CD. And it's really a song about, you know, if that person kind of doesn't do it for you, or that person isn't going to be there for you, don't worry, because I'm here and I'll take you there, and I will, you know, it sounds like a jealousy duet, but it's not. It's really like sometimes, you know, you're pining after that person but it's not the right time, or they're with someone else. And you say to yourself, well, maybe if I let them know that I'm waiting in the wings, maybe they will, you know, think twice about me, kind of thing. And it's really just about it. If she or he or they, in this case, does not come through, you know what? There might be someone else that does.
I love that. I love that. All right. Well, we are going to hear from Nicola singing Guide You Home. Then we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back and learn about the distance as well. So here to sing Guide You Home is Nicola Vazquez.
Give us some time to find a way. Funny how pain subsides, living in shades of gray. It's not so bad this time, holding on in vain. It isn't the night, but that old bloodstained. But if you wait too long, maybe she falls out of love. But if the train markers are gone, I'll be there to guide you home. Oh, hey. Give her a while. She said time is on your side. Never to know what that means. Sooner or later, you'll run down in circles from the truth your restless soul cannot see. But if you wait too long, maybe she falls out of love. But if the train markers are gone, I'll be there to guide you home. Oh no, won't you guide me home? I said, I mean, and I do. But if you wait too long, maybe she fall out of love. But if the train markers are gone, I'll be there to guide you home. No. Won't you guide me home? I said, I mean, well, if I go this way, I wanna be, and then I can only be me when you're lost and lonely. Si te abandonas, yo te llevaré, volando por el cielo, no te dejaré. I guide you home, I guide you home, I guide you home, I guide you home, I guide you home. Yeah.
Yes, I love it. We're going to have more with
Thank
Nicola right after the break. Don't go anywhere, you guys. Stay tuned. Breakthroughs are about more than you might think. They're about discovering who you are, digging deep, reaching to the core of your soul. They're about healing yourself, understanding your beliefs, creating a ripple effect. And it's not just those initial moments that matter. It's about using them to bring more joy into our own lives and the lives of others. It's about having fun, letting loose, enjoying every moment life has to offer. It's about finding a safe space.
It's about creating connection. Join us each and every day for exclusive programming, special events, and a community to call home, where we invite you to explore, change the way you look at and live your life, and go beyond the breakthrough. So we ask you, are you ready? We'll see you online at thebreakthroughshow.com.
Draw the line in the sand, round and round, here we go. Push and pull, give and take, lock and load. We go the distance.
Welcome back to a very special edition of The Breakthrough Show with our amazing guest, Nicola Vazquez. You were just listening to her sing her incredible songs, and then also you got to see a little clip of The Distance, which is coming out soon. Tell us a little bit about how that process has been. Like, how long has it been since you've released a song? I think I might have mentioned it before, but tell everybody what this sort of waiting period, I guess, has been like.
6 years. That was uncharacteristic. I think the pandemic really had a lot to do with that. I mean, I don't know, we seem to blame a lot of things on the pandemic, but I definitely felt less prolific, less creative. We were all kind of in survival mode. I don't know about you, but I totally felt like my brain was in lockdown. My soul, my everything. We didn't have any live audiences, everything was streaming, and that was great. But there was no space mentally for any kind of like, oh, I'm going to like do an album, or felt like, what for? We're all just trying to survive. But when that all lifted, it was like, I wasn't sure if anything would ever come back, and it did. And it was like, oh, wow, this is amazing. And then all of a sudden the cobwebs started to clear. The dust started to settle. It was so amazing, that feeling of like when you're like sick and then all of a sudden you're better, that kind of thing. Like you're like, ooh, I can sing again, I can create again. And that just felt, but it had been, I guess 2017 was my last single. So then we were hit with the pandemic, 2019, 2020. And so I know that I was planning on doing something, and that just sort of locked me down. And then I said, okay, well, this is over. We need to start right as it was sort of we were coming back into the world again. I said, okay, I got to do something. And I was pretty inspired by the situation of a really good friend of mine whose relationship was really, on the rocks. I mean, The Distance came about because it's a song about love and loss. It's the despair of losing that great love. It's this physical and emotional distance that's created when two lovers are in close proximity with each other. And I'm sure we've all been there, and they can no longer find their way back to one another. And they continue to push each other farther and farther away, even though they're right there, And this just was like, oh yeah, sure, let me write a depressing song when the pandemic's, no, but it wasn't, as I was writing it, it didn't feel depressing. It sort of felt like this opposition of forces. I'm really big on like musical forces and lyrical forces opposing and themes opposing each other. So there was a lot. It felt like in any relationship, there's all this push and pull and tug, and you go, I go, do we, this dance. And so even though it's a song about despair and love and loss, it's sort of like gracefully balancing this theme of despair and hope. Does that make any sense? I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems like an oxymoron, but
no, I mean,
beautiful,
right. It makes sense. And also I think, like I said, even if you are, you're not in a situation like that, or may be, there's so many instances where we have to check in with ourselves and ask that question. Are we going to choose to go the distance? Are we going to choose to continue, or what are we going to pick in this moment? And sometimes that answer, I was just saying this on another one of my shows where we were talking about trust and boundaries and things like that. And
Really?
I think ultimately, like, it does come down to that choice. And sometimes that choice is we can't continue because that's what's best for everybody
Right.
involved.
Yeah. And it also seemed a little bit reminiscent of what a lot of us were going through in the pandemic. So not just, I mean, the relationship inspired it, but it was also this whole sort of like, where are we going? You know, you do this, I do that. Are we isolated? Are we together, but we're isolated? Like we were all together, but we all felt very cut off from everybody, you know? So on a larger scale, but it definitely took longer than I anticipated to get this thing off the ground. I was like, oh, you know, it's so easy. You just go into like a home studio. A friend of mine was like, oh, we'll just go into my home studio. We'll just lay down the tracks. And I had a couple of guys that were like, oh, I'll give you some electric guitar tracks. Cause you know, I'm a really solid like rhythm guitar player. And a rhythm electric as well, but I'm like no virtuoso, no like Van Halen, you know, none. I don't claim to be, but I mean I'm really solid at what I do. But because these guys fell through, I couldn't really pin anybody down to getting the parts done. I ended up having to go in and do them myself. And I was like, oh my God, I've never done this before. Like I'm writing electric parts, and then I was writing a cello part. You know, so I actually wrote all the cello parts and the electric parts and I didn't play the cello, that much I cannot do. But I played all the electric, you know, like layered parts, and it became this like tapestry. It turned into this like weaving of all these different sounds. And it just, as it started out to be such a simple song, you know, with just like this acoustic guitar. And it turned out to be this like almost like not a symphony, but symphonic and the symphonic tapestry, if you will, of like colors and sounds and depth and like, and I wasn't sorry about it. It just took so long because it was such a process. It was so hard to do, but when it was over, I was super proud of all the, I mean, I even helped, you know, helped my co-producer, his name is Michael Carrasquillo. He's amazing. He's a drummer, and he helped me, he guided me through. So we ended up co-producing this whole thing, which I didn't even think I was going to have to do either. And I was like, oh my God, how do I co-produce my own music? You know what I mean? Like I'm supposed to have someone else telling me what to do. Like, okay, Nicola, go into the studio. Do you do this? You track the, and I was like, oh my God, there was no one there. All of a sudden I found myself, you know, just trying to do it all. But the good news about that is that you have so much pride in the project when it's done. You're like, oh wow, I did this. Oh, I did that. You know, the video was like, we went up to New Paltz, and it was completely DIY, like no budget at all. And like we shot in the blazing sun for like 10 hours, me with like these winter coats on. And I was just like, oh, like sweating, crazy. We did like normally on a film shoot, you do like, I don't know, 3 locations. We did like 7 in one day. And I don't think we even ate anything the whole day. And then we just, you know, and I went in the water, and it was, I'll tell you, it was so much fun. This whole journey of putting together all the pieces. And then the guy who was supposed to edit it, he fell through. So then we were like, oh, now we're behind the 8 ball again, you know? So then one of my friends I was like, oh my God, I'm calling him up. I'm like, please, can you help me? You know, we have all this footage, like 10 hours of footage, but nobody to edit. And he's like, yeah, I got you, Nicola. I got you. So like, I think a lot of people came together in the end. I mean, isn't that how it is? Sometimes like when you have no budget and then you end up bartering or you do favors or you know, it's not like nobody was, you know, unpaid or anything, but really you're operating on a shoestring budget and you're relying on people that you know and love to kind of help. Because I've helped a lot of people on their projects, and sometimes the karma just comes back. So I feel really lucky that I was able to get that, like I was telling you and other people before the show, this is like, I'm amazed that it even came together at all. Like that we even have a product that to put out there. So it's always amazing to me when a CD comes together or when a single comes together. It's like, how did we do that? It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's wildly ironic to me that the lyrics of the chorus say "go the distance," and how many times throughout this process the universe was literally like, "So, Nicola."
Oh, I never thought of it like that. That's yet another layer that you bring to my attention.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I thought like it was really about, because when you say go the distance, it could be anything. So most people, conjure up this positive, like, we're going to go the distance to, like in sports, like, go that extra yard or whatever. I don't even like follow football, but I know that, that's what they do. And or track running or whatever. But here is like going the distance to actually be more distant. But yes, we definitely went the distance on this, on the making of the distance.
Yeah, I mean, it's like to me, I hear it like literally asking, like the universe asking you the question over and over: do you want to go do you want to continue this? Is this what you really want? In for yourself or in your life, and I say this because it has happened to me so many times.
Oh my God.
Where it's like you ask for something, right? Like, I really want to do this song, I really want to put out this show, I really want to write this book, and then you come up after block and block and block, and it's like, is this to stop me, or is this to ask me, how bad do you really want this? How bad, like, are you willing to work for it?
I have never worked so hard on something in my entire life, but I think there's a good thing to that, because if something comes, really easily, invariably you just don't appreciate it to the same depth and degree. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Right? It's like,
I mean, I think there's the potential for the level of appreciation and gratitude and respect for what you have is so much greater when that struggle is present. I don't think it's impossible to appreciate, respect something, but I think the level is much more different when you've been on that roller coaster ride to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, I've always done things the hard way, it seems like, in my life, or maybe just things just happen that way just because it's not an easy business. And like I said, there's no straight line. It's, the journey is a zigzagging one. And I know you said you can relate to that. Yeah. But this was definitely above and beyond, like the stories and the hours and the weeks and the months, and like we had to completely redo the bass, the bass part, and retrack the bass player because there were some problems with it. And then we wanted to get a different kind. Most basses, the conventional bass has 4 strings, this, right? And then there you have a 5-string bass and a 6-string bass, which allows you to play lower notes. So, my co-producer was like, hey, I think we should do this with a 5-string bass. Well, oh, great. Okay, now I have to go find a 5-string bass. So, I had to like call my friend Danny, who, if you're listening or you see this at some point, thank you so much for loaning us your bass, your 5-string bass. And then we had to call my bass player Jules back in, and he had to retrack everything. But that whole process took another few weeks, So I feel like every step of the way, because you're also doing life along the way. You're like being a mom, you're working, you're trying to pull everything together, and you're trying to record. It's not like you're holed up. I'd love to be like those signed artists holed up in some like barn in Denver. No, what? There's no barns in Denver. Okay, barn in Iowa. Okay, barn in Kansas, or barn in like North Carolina. Okay, that's more of a barn place, right? I would like to be holed up, and say, oh yeah, I was like there, like on a retreat for like 2 months. I didn't do anything but just like eat, drink, and, do my songwriting. And I wrote 12 songs. I would be prolific too if I could just like say goodbye to everything in my life, my work, money, no care, no object. And just, wouldn't you love to be holed up I don't know if I'd like to be holed up in a barn, to be truthful, but I just say, as a point of a, you know, a point in case, a case in point that if you are able to step away from everything with no distractions, it yields a different product usually.
A different product, and the time frame is different. Like everything is different, because I just had this conversation with someone a couple days ago where during the pandemic, this person and I were in a similar position with our business, like where we were with the work that we're doing, and theirs in like a year and a half like skyrocketed, like, but they didn't have a spouse, they don't have kids, their experience is completely different, their network is different,
damn them.
I mean, everything is, and so I had this moment, this is what I shared with them, I had this moment where I felt like, why the hell not me? Like, why is it a different situation? Why is my situation different? But then I had to back up and say, no, you're in a completely different situation with a different set of challenges. You're not the same person. Stop comparing yourself to. So, I mean, like, I'm sure that even if it's not all the time, you probably have moments where you're like, why can't I just go and be in a barn for 2 months?
In Denver? No, I'm just kidding. Well, you know, my sister always says comparison is the thief of joy, and I don't think she made up that saying. It's a famous saying.
I don't know where it comes from though.
Yeah, you've heard it before, right?
Yes.
And you know, and the first time I ever actually heard that, I was like, yeah, that makes sense, you know, and like, it's hard not to compare because we're just sort of hardwired as humans in society, especially ours, to be pitted against each other and to compare and keeping up with the Joneses. And it's kind of crazy. But if we step back from it and we go like, look at all that I do have, you may be surprised that maybe the person next to you who you think has, you know, what you want or more than you actually might be thinking the same thing. Like, oh, geez, you know, I never could have a child. You don't ever know what someone's story is. Like, you never know. Like I had 6 miscarriages before I had my child. So like a lot of times people would be like, well, how are we not going to have a child yet? Or, you know, or why don't you have 2? Yep. And, you know, it's like, no one really knows the story behind your journey and the reasons that you make the choices or the way that life pans out for you, you know?
Yeah. We could stand to be a lot more gentle as humans to other people.
Totally.
In the judgments that we have. I think it's a lesson to learn. We definitely need to hear a little clip, if we can, of the song, because Miss Brittany's out in the audience and she said, you can just see the glow as she plays. I see a bird breaking free from a cage, so freeing, such beautiful talent. So we need to hear more of that talent.
Thank you, Brittany.
A little clip of the distance.
Oh, you're going to play a clip now?
No, I want to hear you, and then we'll see a little more clip, and then we'll talk more.
Thank you, Brittany. I'm going to play a live clip, just a teaser clip. I don't know how we can salvage it anymore. Draw the line in the sand, round and round here we go. Pushing through, give and take, lock and load. We do the distance. We do the distance, we do the distance, to the distance, my love, you and
I. That's going to be so good. We'll be right back after this. Here's another small clip.
Push and pull, give and take, lock and load. We go the distance, we go the distance.
welcome back to the Breakthrough Show. Listen, that video is stunning. Like, I literally wanted to go play in the forest with you for a little
Oh yeah, well,
That's so good.
there are a lot of forests, yeah, in New Paltz where we filmed it. Yeah, it was a great location. Yeah, it was fun. I have to say there was a lot of grassy areas and a lot of bridges and a lot
Yeah.
of expansive places to capture the idea of the distance, and distancing,
Yeah. Yeah. And even like when you go the parts where you go into the water as well, just
Mm.
I mean, to me that brings another, like, I kept thinking in my head of like the cleansing that needs to happen when you choose to start or end something and like go to the next level, or like, I don't
Oh,
know,
wow.
like there's so much symbolism in the whole thing, whether it was
Yeah.
intentional or not.
She's
sure
gonna
was
go
picking
drown
it up.
herself. Right? No, I don't know how many people are gonna be thinking like she's gonna go like drown. No, I mean that wasn't the intention, but hopefully nobody thinks that. But yes, cleansing. I hadn't even thought about
See?
that. That's awesome. Yeah, see, it's to me the best part of writing like a song or creating even a piece of art, just whatever form it is that people can put themselves in it, like you just did. You don't necessarily have to tell them what it's about.
Right.
Or what the background or the backstory. I mean, that's always interesting, but it's even more interesting when like the actual listener or the viewer puts themselves into the situation and goes, oh, I think it's about this. Oh, this is about me, or I know this story, or, that kind of thing. I think that's the coolest part. Yeah.
Do you enjoy that when people create their own stories around it, or do you like prefer to tell like this is my perspective?
I prefer when people put themselves into it, because I always feel like I'm gonna ruin it because they had this whole like Academy Award winning film in their head about what it was, and I just basically told them, oh, it's about my cat, or something like that. You know what I mean? And it's like I think James Taylor has this song, it's called Mona. And I thought it was like this whole thing, about this woman named Mona and this whole like relationship gone sour, whatever. Turns out it's about a pig that he used to have, a pet pig named Mona.
That's hilarious.
And so when I found out about that, I was like, oh, really? Okay, that's weird. Okay. But it's just funny how, I just made up this whole, image of this woman and, who she was and what she had done. And just funny that it's about an animal, a pig. No,
I need
less.
to go. I'm not sure. I love James Taylor, and I'm not sure I've ever heard that song. So I need to
Mona.
go now.
And
now I'm going to see a pig.
Shout out to James Taylor.
Yeah. Yes. We love you so much here.
We do. We absolutely do.
Anybody else? I love you, James Taylor.
Oh my God. I'm always shouting out to other artists because that's who influences us, and that's who our like either our parents grew up listening to or we grew up listening to or all that kind of stuff,
yeah like I some of my I think my favorite, I love James Taylor. Carole King is another like God. Hello, I just
shout out to Carole King.
Hello. Just so good. I loved Karen Carpenter, and like that I love and then like when you get into the 90s a little bit, I liked
Eddie Vedder,
Lisa Loeb, and
Lisa Loeb, okay,
but just Jewel, and and that's my vibe. But I want to hear about your musical influences. Who are some of your favorites across the board that maybe they're just your favorites, or maybe they've influenced your music in some way?
Probably both. Grew up in a house where we're always listening to music. Parents were always listening to like a wide array of music. So there was like, could be Stevie Wonder, or there could be jazz playing. Aretha Franklin, Joni Mitchell, James Taylor, like Bonnie Raitt. I saw this like redheaded woman wield this guitar and like do some slide, I was like, what? I want to be that, that's what I want to, but then my dad was like a huge Nina Simone fan. So I got riveted by her story, and especially after they made that movie, and I started reading about her, and I was like, this woman was amazing. She was not only just an incredible singer and a songwriter, but she wanted to be a classical pianist, but because she couldn't gain entry into, I think she wanted to go to Juilliard. I hope I'm telling the story right. I think she wanted to go to Juilliard or some classical conservatory, but because at the time there was segregation, she wasn't allowed in. And so it sort of crushed her. And she never really recovered from the fact that she, you know, she made a life and she had a successful life, but she was always tortured inside by the fact that she couldn't be what she wanted to be. So her story definitely resonated. And I don't know, Pearl Jam, Eddie Vedder, Dave Matthews. Just love the way he does his chord voicings and just his lyrics and his rhythm. And there for a while I wanted to be him, you know, the female version of him. You know, I fancied myself as like, you know, I mean, you can't be someone else. That's the thing, you know, the comparison thing. But I there's so many things about his music and his guitar playing that I love and often want to try to emulate, you know. And then you just end up, you know, you try to emulate someone else. You try to not copy, but go like, oh, I'm going to do a version of that. And then you end up just being yourself because you have this conglomeration of all these different, you know, forces within you, and like soul and pop and rock and folk and all that kind of stuff, you know.
This is inspirational to me too, because I think that's another thing as I look back on my own journey that I recognize is that I would cover a song and then I would go, but I can't sound like them, so why would I try? Like instead of just being Jessica, instead of just like, you know, being who I am, I think I was trying to be what they were, which you can't be, and you know, it's round and round. That's your
you can't. You have to round and round, right? You when she's quoting Nicola. I like doing your own take, you know, doing my own take on somebody else's that maybe is, you know, you just make it your own, and then people go, it's just enough where people can like dig into it, like, oh, I know that song, I can sing along with it, but then it's like, well, wait, it's not really like how, you know, like I can't sing Stevie Nicks like Stevie Nicks sings Stevie Nicks, but I do my own, you know, kind of rendition of that. And I think you should always be proud and always search for your own voice within someone else's. But yes, I mean, there are certain songs like I'm not even going to touch, you know, like Respect or whatever. Aretha Franklin, you know, it's like there are some songs which I'm like, I'm sorry, but I am not worthy. You know, I'm just not like those. I call them the uncoverable songs, you know. I mean, at least for me, because, you know, I cover a lot of people's songs. That's just, you know, there are some that are just like, just leave them on the high shelf where they are, you know.
One of my favorite questions to ask musicians when they come on the show is, if you were doing an album of all duets, give me 3 dream people that you would love to duet with.
Katie Tunstall.
Ooh.
I don't know if you know. Oh, you know her. Oh, okay. A lot of people like Katie who? Yeah. Oh God.
Something about a horse and a cherry tree.
Yeah. Oh, shout out to Katie Tunstall. We love her. She's also a guitar wielding genius. I love her voice. Love her guitar. Her voice is so unique. I'll tell you, I would not mind doing a duet with Bonnie Raitt. I would not. I would also, now this goes in the other direction, but indie sort of neo soul folk, India Ari, love her.
Wow.
Remember her? She's still, I mean, she might not want to do a duet with me, but neither might any of them. But if your question was more like who, if I had,
we like to assume that they would love to do a duet with you.
Okay. Shout out to Katie, shout out to India Ari, and shout out to who was the other one I named? Oh, Bonnie. Oh, God. I saw Bonnie. She was at the New Jersey, what is it? The Performing Arts Center. I can't remember the name of it. It's in Newark. And that's all I know. And all I know is she performed with James Taylor.
Oh,
and
my
she
gosh.
came on, and she was like 70 when I saw her. And so that was only a few years ago. And she blew the rafter. I mean, she blew the ceiling off the place. And I was like so inspired because I was like, you see, you don't have to think that just because artists reach a certain age that they are taken out to pasture and shot, you know. that they are still viable. And in fact, she sounded better than I ever remember her sounding. So that was just like, wow, it was so inspirational to me. I was like, yes, I want to be that when I grow up, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I would love to hear one more of your songs. And
Okay.
then we'll find out what you're doing moving forward, if there's a big party plan for the new song or what's happening. But I would love to hear the song Anywhere. Tell us about that song as you're getting set up.
As I'm tuning, yeah, I have my little tuner on the ground. For those of you at home, don't try this. No, just kidding. Anywhere is kind of this anthemic pop song, a folky kind of pop song, a tribute to. It sounds like Guide You Home, but it's not. That I will be there. No, if love is nowhere to be found, basically you can count on me, because love is everywhere. But I will be there to pick you up, to hold you, to get you through that time. And actually, it was chosen to be in a musical. And so I'm among a few other songs of mine. So that is still being written by some other people, but I am the composer for that. So I'm pleased that song was one of the ones. Anyway,
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to hear this song. And I also want to remind you, while Nicola is playing, to pre-save the distance. The link is down in the comments and the show notes for you guys. And enjoy the song, and we'll be right back.
If I could be a mountain standing strong against the sky, swear I'd leave behind this legacy of climbers who passed me by. And I believe you can find it, stand on solid ground. No, 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 I believe you can find me anywhere love is found. Yeah. If I could be a lighthouse to guide your ship in despair, you could hardly speak and fire on. Send a signal, I'll be there. I believe you can find me, stand on solid ground. No, 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 no. I believe you can find me anywhere love is found. Oh, no. Love is found, yeah. Anyway, oh, yeah. If I could be a comet that shatters sky and space, I would tear through all the galaxies just to light your way. And I believe you can find it, stand on solid ground. No, 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 no. I believe you can find me anywhere love is found. Oh, oh. Love is found, yeah. No, anyway. Yeah. Oh, anywhere, anywhere love is found, I'll be anywhere love is found. Don't you know that anywhere anywhere love is found. Anywhere, anywhere love is found. Anywhere, anywhere love is found. Anywhere, anywhere love is found. Got to search for the truth. You know you will find me. No, no. Search for love and I'll be there. Don't you know that I'll be there? Anyway.
Oh,
Thank you.
that one made me feel some kind of way.
Oh,
That one made me feel some
I'm
kind of way.
so glad.
I'm
Thank
gonna
you.
go out crying. Did I? That's what's gonna
Oh no, we said we were gonna cry and laugh and just have it all.
I love it. Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your music with us. And I find myself, I can't wait until the distance is actually out so I can have it on repeat and sing along
Oh,
to
thank
it.
you so much. Are you
It'll-
kidding? It was certainly my pleasure being on your show and you being the host and just being so gracious. I really appreciate that. It was a lot of fun.
I love it. I'm so glad you had a good time as well. And I would love to hear. So the song's going to come out September 22nd.
That's
And
right.
are we having a big party? What are we doing?
So I don't have a big party per se planned, but I know she's like, well, I want to go to a party.
I'm very upset
All right,
now.
well, it's the party's at your house. You know that, girl, right? No, just kidding. So what I do, there is a show that we're having with Rory and the Lady Beast Collective, and that's going to be at Rockwood Music Hall on the 29th of September at 8 o'clock, and that's down in the East Village. And so I planned on sort of making that kind of rolling my release into that. So, having celebrating it then. I don't know if we'll have a cake or cupcakes or drinks or whatever, but I'm just going to make it. I figure since it's right around that time, might as well make it a big, twofer kind of a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be amazing. That'll be amazing. So once the song is out, what are your plans moving forward about creating new music? What do you have in your mind for a vision?
Well, I'm going to hole up in a barn somewhere, right? No, I'm just kidding.
That's planned now.
That's definitely, I got a plan for that. I need to be independently wealthy to do that. But no, I already have another single that I want to try to go into recording in the next few months once I've gotten through the whole process and this is released and we ride it to the last, down the road and have everybody hopefully buy it, listen to it and spin it and pre-save it and all that stuff. I have a new release that I would like to start working on pretty much right away so that maybe there won't be 6 years in between the next one. And I would like to, I'm trying to set up some tours right now. Solos, duos with my drummer. Maybe some trios, maybe some full band. I like traveling simply, like 1 and 2 people, because you can keep all the earnings and it's simpler to travel on the road. A lot of people are traveling like in solos and duos now. And also I would like to write a musical. A lot of people have said like your music seems to be like something that would lend itself to, I would like to write my own musical. So, that's going to be a longer process and a lot of other people that I need to kind of get in sync with, but that is definitely a big goal of mine.
I maybe I should make it. I want to be in the musical.
Okay. All right. Okay. When we start casting, I want to be in the musical too. I want to write it. Look at Melissa Etheridge. She's like, on Broadway, a lot of actually like pop and rock and folk people are like writing musicals. Of course they're famous and I'm not, but but that's okay. I mean, Anais Mitchell, I don't know if you're familiar with Hadestown on Broadway, but she was a very unknown singer-songwriter from Vermont who nobody knew anything about maybe like 15 years ago. And she was just doing her own thing, gigs, like doing like the rest of us. She's very talented, has a great voice and writes some awesome songs. But she sort of like started writing this thing and they were like, you should make this into a musical. And it took her like 13 years, but she linked up with the right people and then lo and behold, it's a Tony Award winning show.
Wow.
So that's a story that I would hope it doesn't take me 15 years, because I feel like I don't have 15 years. No, I'm not that I don't. I mean,
Don't
I
say
don't,
that. Now we're gonna cry again.
No, I don't mean like I'm gonna die. I just feel like, of course, I feel like I have 50 years, but I definitely don't want a process to take me 15 years. But hey, it'll take what it takes.
Yeah, Brittany said, yet
Oh,
is the
oh, Brittany, you're so kind. You know, a lot of people are like, why don't you go on America's Got Talent? And I'm like, no, it's not for me.
Yeah.
I auditioned for that show once. That
Did
was
you?
not a breakthrough moment for me in my
Oh.
life. I've had many, but that was not one.
Yeah.
No, it's just, I'm not cut out for that. The way that they want you to be and the way they want you to be molded, and it's all like a whole, it's all staged and all pre-directed and all like preordained.
Right.
When you go on there, they own you. And
Right.
I couldn't be me and do what I do and be on there.
Yeah, that's what it seems to me like. You watching those shows, that it's no shade to anybody that does them and
No,
does
of
well
course
or whatever.
not. No.
It's just that it looks like you have to be super open to just being like you said, molded and you know and
or
I don't know
Idol,
that I could,
like the American Idol, when they were doing that, is like, you know, that all of that was like preordained.
Right.
I was on a show which was like New York City's soundtracks, and it was part of the MSG network with the Madison Square Garden, and they decided that they were going to follow a bunch of buskers. Me being one of them, they like handpicked us, and we were going to do this contest, and the audience was going to vote. It's going to be like American Idol, but for street buskers. And this was like back in 2009 or something like that.
Yeah.
And so I got the most out of all the people that were voting. I got the most votes, like from fans and whatever. But the producer called me and he was like, I'm sorry, I know you have the most votes, but we already picked, we already know who we're going to pick as the winner. And I was like, what? And, you know, it turned out to be my good friend and amazing, talented singer-songwriter. So I wasn't sad, because, I mean, talent-wise, he's amazing. Like, I have no, you know, but just that process was not based.
Yeah.
They actually told me, and that's how it is. I'm like, they already know who's going to win. And I didn't know that. I was like, that is just like, why do you let us go through? Because it makes for good television. You know what I mean? It makes for good, like, programming. Because like then you see them all pitted against each other. You don't know who's going to win and like who's going to get the most votes and blah blah blah. And I had people like sitting there on like their laptops in like California, just like hitting vote, and you know, and like I had people vote. We were all had our fan base voting, and it, you know. Anyway, I'm not sad. I'm like crying spilt milk or anything like that. And
no, I know,
that,
but
it's just funny how that is.
I think people need to realize that, though, that a lot of these things are not what we think they are. And there, I know that I have a friend who has been on the show, Kevin Kiley, who has tried out for both of The Voice and American Idol a couple times, and he's incredible. And so I know there are so many people who are just so good that don't even, you know, so it doesn't faze me anymore like it used to. I'm like, I don't understand why they're not letting you right through the golden doors. Like,
no, because and I always tell my daughter this, like life is not, and it's not to be pessimistic, but life is not about fair always. In fact, oftentimes it isn't. It's oftentimes placement, and are you in the right place at the right time? Or, you know, we all, a lot of us work really hard. There's no end to hardworking people and honing your craft and being talented or whatever. All of those things you can have and still not get to that place that you're talking about, just because. And it's the same way in sports. It's the same way in a lot of realms. Writers, right? You know, book writers, artists, painters. You know, my God, that person, look at that thing that they just painted. It's a masterpiece. It's like Picasso. How come they're not where they should be? Well, because life isn't fair, because it doesn't work like that. It should. Just because you go to school and you're talented and what, you should be able to get, you know, land that job or sell that painting. But Michael is saying the entertainment business has always been a sham. You bet your that's my drummer and co-producer. You bet your bottom dollar, baby.
Well, it's something that's it's interesting with even the creation of the Breakthrough Show Network.
Yeah.
I always said from the beginning, like is it a lot of work to do everything yourself? Absolutely. To not have a huge team, producers, another big network behind you and everything. It's a lot of work, but I get to do what I want here. I get to be real here. I get to not have fake, things going on here. And I've always been adamant about that. So while it is sometimes harder work and you've got that climb uphill, it's been fun. It's also rewarding, and that I know we're telling the truth here. I know what we do behind the scenes, and I can sleep at night. So
I know it's amazing. It's like, how do you sleep with your, not you, but I mean, like the people that make a living on the sham world, as he's put it. That's a great word, sham. You're a sham.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just something about that word. It's like, it's going to be in my head for the rest of the day. Thank you to him. But
thank you for bringing some spice to the end of our show, Michael.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you again for being here. I'm so excited about the distance coming out. I'm going to show a couple more clips when we're on our way out as well, but cool. Just so good. I'm so excited for you, and I can't wait for you to come back when you're receiving your Tony Award. That's going to happen. We're manifesting it here today. Okay.
We are manifesting. I know.
Beyonce, James Taylor, Melissa Etheridge, Bonnie Raitt. We love you so much.
Yeah, we are. We hashtag. You said you're gonna you're gonna.
I am.
Oh my god. They're like, who are these women? Oh my god. Okay.
Well, it's funny because I saw Vanessa Williams at the casino over here, which was a whole amazing 90s throwback with that show. And I tagged her because I talked about how amazing it was in my morning show, and she shared it. So I'm like, you have those moments where it's like, share my show. How fun is that?
That is so cool. That never happened to me.
It's happening this time. I'm gonna figure it out.
No, it's fine. It's fine if it doesn't. I'm just saying, it never. As much as I tried, it never happened to me.
Well, we're gonna see, because Brittany, light a candle or something over there, would you? Okay.
No, it's okay. You know what? Actually, all kidding aside, as long as I can stay a working musician, a working artist, I am happy. Honestly, I really am, because it's never been my goal to be famous. I think fame is not a goal that you have. It's just not a goal. It's just not like a goal. I mean, I guess it is a goal to some people, but if that's your goal, you're going to be sadly disappointed in life. Like, I think it would be a rude awakening for me. I just want to sustain myself. It'd be great to open for some people. Like, what do you hope would happen? Oh, like to open for some big people, or co-bill for them, or stuff like that would be great, because then it puts me in front of a vast audience, of like an arena. Like, it's like I'm operating on a microcosm of that, right? But if I'm in a big room like that, or a big realm, you're able to sell merchandise, and you're able to just sort of propel yourself into this world whereby people will now begin to follow you, and now you have more sustainability. So it just feeds into that's why that's more important than fame to me, because fame is short-lived,
Right. And there's different levels too as well. When my good friend Jamad comes on the show, he's like, you're famous. Like, people know you in over 30 countries, Jessica. That's like super. And so it's like, while we may not feel like we've reached that expectation of fame, or what fame looks like in our head, we could be famous to the people that really matters, and that love the content that we put out and things like that as well. Brittany's manifesting it.
My daughter says I'm almost famous.
She's
like, Mom, you're almost famous. So it's like,
that's okay too. We have a huge music I don't know, just air of entertainment and music in this area here in New London, Connecticut, which is not far from
I
New
know.
York City.
I've been looking into it. Yeah, I'm definitely, yeah, Providence and New London and all that. Would love to come up there.
Yeah, we would love to have you. And anytime, like, you know, we have come to my house, have dinner, you know, the whole thing, and it'll be great.
I invited myself to your house before, and now you're inviting me back. Fame is a sham.
Thank you, Michael.
There you go.
Well done.
I love you. You're so awesome. Everybody needs a Michael on their show because
they do.
I'm telling you.
I don't know that, you know, would you, if I ever have a show in a studio, Michael, will you come play drums like on the side, like Jimmy Fallon has? Like, you know, can you just come do that?
Don't threaten. He will. He's a great drummer. He is an awesome drummer. For anyone listening, I mean, he's an amazing, amazing drummer. He's amazing. Yeah.
I love it. Oh, well, thank you so much again, Nicola, for being here. I'm excited for the music. Thank all of you guys for watching or listening, whether you're live or on the replay, wherever you are in the world. Here's a couple more clips. Make sure you pre-save The Distance. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and I want to remind you that every day is a great day for a breakthrough. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Giving in, buried with pillow cries in the night.